We have an update now to a story that we have been following for the past 2 weeks. It's a story of the discovery of a baby's body in a well. And today, his parents, Daniel and Jessica Groves, were in Scioto County Court for a pretrial hearing. They face multiple charges, including aggravated murder. 13 News reporter Hannah Getz has the latest.
Daniel and Jessica Groves were in court today for a pre-trial hearing. They've pled not guilty to a number of charges related to the death of their 4-month-old baby Dylan. Dylan's body was found at the bottom of a well in Scioto County 2 weeks ago. They're charged with aggravated murder and kidnapping, among other charges. Today they said they want a full trial, and the judge said they'll get it. Earlier today, the county's Children's Services Board met to decide whether its director, Dr. Laura Fuller, will keep her job. County officials had requested she be put on administrative leave over questions of whether Dylan, who had been in protective custody, was returned to the Groves inappropriately. The board decided to bring in a third-party independent investigator to look into that question. Fuller remains on the job until that probe is concluded. The next pre-trial date set for the Groves is August 1st, but neither of the parties in the case can comment at this time. Reporting in Scioto County, I'm Hannah Getz, 13 News, working for you.
Tragedy and reform. The case of Dylan Groves and the push for legislative change. Before January 10, 2019, Jessica and Daniel Groves lived in Otway, Ohio, as parents to their son, Daniel Groves Jr. On that day, their family grew with the birth of Dylan James Groves at the Southern Ohio Medical Center in Portsmouth. However, the joyous occasion quickly turned somber as Jessica arrived at the hospital in active labor and under the influence, with no prenatal care records available. Despite the staff's concerns, she provided no answers, and due to her condition, no pain medication was administered. Dylan, born prematurely, required immediate oxygen support. Both mother and newborn tested positive for drugs, and Dylan soon exhibited signs of neonatal withdrawal syndrome. Testing revealed Dylan had been exposed to methamphetamine, amphetamine, fentanyl, and morphine in utero.
Additional day 3 of testimony in the murder trial of 2-month-old Dylan Groves. His parents are accused of his death.
13 News reporter Hannah Getz has been following this story since June and was in court again today. She joins us now live from the Scioto County Courthouse with the latest. Hannah.
Rob, Jennifer, good evening. This morning, a Scioto County Children's Services caseworker assigned to Dylan's case was questioned by both prosecutors and the defense. It was a lengthy overview of the timeline of baby Dylan's short life and also insight into the pressures put on the Children's Services system. Patricia Kraft, Dylan's caseworker who asked not to be on camera, stated the Groves had missed a number of court hearings and doctor's appointments.
No, the last day I seen Dylan alive was March the 28th.
Near the end of April, with Dylan still missing, Scioto County Children's Services took custody of the Groves' other 14-year-old son. A week later, the caseworker filed a missing persons report with the county sheriff's office after repeatedly failing to make contact with the Groves to check on Dylan's welfare.
Initially, Scioto County Children's Services planned to grant custody to Daniel, believing he was employed and capable of passing drug tests. However, the hospital refused to release Dylan under the condition that Jessica must undergo drug treatment and not reside with them. Consequently, Dylan was placed with foster mother Andrea Tackett on January 16th. Dylan's withdrawal symptoms persisted, requiring constant care. 10 days later, Dylan was returned to his father under the same stipulations. Jessica entered drug treatment for 3 weeks, and Dylan had regular pediatric appointments for less than a month. However, the Groves soon began evading contact with Children's Services. Despite numerous attempts, the last confirmed sighting of Dylan was on March 28th during a home visit by caseworker Patricia Kraft. A missing persons report for Dylan was filed on April 30th, following failed attempts to reach the Groves. On May 20th, the Scioto County Sheriff's Office spotted the couple, but they evaded capture. A search warrant executed on June 10th led to their arrest.
It wasn't until mid-June that Dylan's body was found at the bottom of a 30-foot deep well. The caseworker states she did everything she could under the law for Dylan, including suggesting an Amber Alert. She was told no.
And supervisor stated that if an Amber Alert goes out, it would give a bad reputation for the agency because we lost a child.
In the afternoon, the jury heard a very emotional testimony from Dylan's foster mother, Andrea Bowling. Shortly after taking the stand, she broke down in tears.
Let's go ahead and take our afternoon recess at this point.
The judge called a short recess, and when court resumed, it was very clear that although Dylan was in Bowling's care for a short period of time, she cared for him very much.
Yes.
And when she was told that Dylan's father, Daniel Groves, was getting physical custody of the infant back,
I gave him a Bible.
Okay.
If you ever need anything, to call me, and I gave him my phone number.
Did they ever reach out to you after that?
No.
Bowling's testimony seemed to be difficult for many in the courtroom today, but the tougher questions were directed at Children's Services in their decision to return the baby back to his parents. Court will reconvene tomorrow at 9 a.m. Reporting live in Scioto County, I'm Hannah Getz, 13 News, working for you.
Hannah, thanks so much.
On June 12, 2019, the remains of Dylan Groves were discovered in a 30-foot well. His body was found encased in milk crates secured with chains, padlocks, and zip ties, and weighed down with rocks and a metal anchor. An autopsy revealed multiple fractures and the presence of drugs in his system, with his death ruled as homicidal violence of undetermined etiology. Jessica and Daniel faced charges including aggravated murder, kidnapping, and child endangerment. They were convicted and sentenced on Dylan's first birthday, January 10, 2020. Jessica received life without parole, plus 32 years, while Daniel received 47 years to life. The case spurred legislative efforts to prevent such tragedies. Ohio State Senator Terry Johnson introduced Dylan's Law in August 2021, aiming to protect children born exposed to drugs by requiring parental rehabilitation and ongoing oversight. Despite support, the bill did not advance past the committee stage.
Lieutenant Daniel Groves, will you please stand? Sir, as to count 2 of the indictment, you have been found guilty of the charge of murder. I will sentence you to the prescribed term of imprisonment for that offense of 15 years to life in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. As to count 3 of the indictment, you are convicted of a charge of kidnapping, a felony of the first degree. You have been found guilty by the jury. I am going to sentence you to a term of imprisonment of 10 years in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. As to count 4 of the indictment, charged child endangering, a felony of the third degree, I will sentence you to a 36-month term in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. As to count 5 of the indictment, charged tampering with evidence, a felony of the third degree, I'm going to sentence you to a 36-month term in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. As to count 7 of the indictment, charged gross abuse of corpse, a felony of the fifth degree, I'm going to sentence you to a 12-month term in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. As to count 8 of the indictment, you are convicted of charged felonious assault, a felony of the second degree. I'm going to sentence you to an 8-year term in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. And as to count 9 of the indictment, I am going to sentence you to an 8-year term in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. I am going to order the sentence in count 5, tampering with evidence, and count 7 to run concurrently with each other. It would be my intention, by imposing this sentence, to impose a term of 47 years to life in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. And we'll give you credit for the 213 days you've served in the county jail while awaiting trial. You can be seated. Lieutenant Jessica Groves, will you please stand? Ma'am, you stand convicted of the charge of aggravated murder. It will be the sentence of this court that you be sentenced to a term of imprisonment of life without the possibility of parole. As to count 1 of the indictment. As to count 3 of the indictment, charged kidnapping, a felony of the first degree, I will sentence you to a 10-year term in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. As to count 4 of the indictment, I am going to sentence you to a 36-month term in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. As to count 5 of the indictment, charged tampering with evidence, I am going to sentence you to a 36-month term in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. As to count 7 of the indictment, charged gross abuse of corpse, I am going to sentence you to a 12-month term in the custody of the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. As to count 8 of the indictment, I will sentence you to an 8-year term in the custody of the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. As to count 9 of the indictment, also charged felonious assault, I will sentence you to an 8-year term in the custody of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. As to count 5 and count 7, I will order those sentences to run concurrently with each other. However, pursuant to my earlier findings, I will order the remaining charges to run consecutive to each other. It would be my intention to impose a sentence of life without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 32 years as part of this sentence. You can be seated. Court is adjourned.
All right, this is it. Life without parole for Jessica Groves. 47 to life for Daniel Groves. Remember, they were holding hands during jury selection, outside the presence of the jury. But this is it for this couple. This is goodbye. 47 years for Daniel Groves means he'll be eligible for parole when he's 89. If he makes it to then, he can go visit Jessica. But that is it for these parents who've been convicted of the murder of their little child, baby Dylan, who 1 year ago today was brought into this world. And 1 year later, his parents taken out of a courtroom as convicted murderers.
Dylan's case was not isolated. In July 2020, Richard and Sonia Green were charged with the murder of their granddaughter, Annabelle Green, also under Scioto County Children's Services watch. This spurred indictments of 2 caseworkers on child endangerment charges in September 2021. These cases highlight systemic failures and the ongoing need for reform in child welfare practices.